Very good evening to you. It's a Tuesday night, sun splitting the skies, and we're ready to talk some football. Normally we do it on a Friday, but that's what we recorded last week for last Friday's show. Didn't actually record, or it did, but it didn't save. We are going to do a live episode here Tuesday night, just talking, looking back at last week's football results, looking ahead to the coming fixtures over the weekend, maybe talk a wee bit of the Champions League and European football as well. And we're also in the company of Clyde midfielder Liam Scullion. Liam, good evening to you.
Good evening, how are we?
Not bad at all, mate, not bad. Yourself, how are you keeping?
Aye, good thanks.
Good. We'll come back to you, as I say, we'll talk a wee bit of football, talk a wee bit of Clyde, good result at the weekend. We're also joined by Bob Smith. Bob, how's things?
Everyone's great, and you've disappointed me not being able to talk about Rangers, but I'll not talk about the team. There you go.
Well, we'll discuss them, obviously, as Dennis says before his computer shut down. It is a pertinent point, and it is a pertinent topic of conversation. So we will talk Rangers as well. See how many Rangers supporters we can talk down off the ledges and things like that, because I think obviously
the point of deflecting that, actually, not to talk about Rangers, but to talk about the team that beat them at the weekend.
There is that as well.
And
yeah, we can talk Hearts.
So
we can talk Hearts as well.
So I'm happy to talk on that. No bother.
Yeah. We will also be joined by Dennis Newell. Dennis, a wee bit of technical issues. Actually, his computer told me it was time for him to restart. I think he meant the computer and know himself. But anyway, we will talk about that as well. But I think the good place to start tonight, Bob, let's keep things nice and positive. Let's start. And a good place to start, Liam, is down at Galabank at the weekend, where obviously Clyde got their first league victory of the season. They did a couple of wins in the cup competitions on the back of obviously a really good home victory against Motherwell B. Go down to Galabank, and I don't think anyone's seen a 6-0 drubbing coming.
No. I didn't see it coming myself, to be quite honest. But I definitely knew it was due. I knew, I can tell the boys were getting there. And now I think we are closer there. I think we only did one or two more players, as you saw. We got the loan signing of Taylor Sutherland, and we got wee Jamie in there, so it helps a lot. So it does. A wee bit of legs in the midfield. I think that helped to drive us on a wee bit.
Sorry, I think that's the difference. Obviously, I've seen the highlights. As I say, obviously, I'm hiding out the road just now, so I've seen the highlights for the weekend, and certainly it looked convincing. It wasn't a game, and it was said during commentary as well, it wasn't a game where Clyde had 6 shots and scored the 6 of them. Clyde completely dominated the game, and they could actually have almost hit double figures had things gone for them a wee bit better.
Yep, 100%.
So and the inclusion of Jamie Bradley, the inclusion of Taylor Sutherland is kind of making up, obviously, for the absence of a wee bit of legs in the middle of the park with yourself. So how far away are you from obviously coming back? I know a lot of Clyde supporters are going to be interested.
Well, to be honest, it's hard to say because I don't actually know myself. I've been getting loads of fans saying it's 6 weeks. I've got loads of fans saying it's 6 months. What I did promise them was it's definitely no 6 weeks.
Right,
and that's for sure. It'll be 100% be close to 6 months. Because it was a pretty serious surgery, so it was. So that was the 6. Well, Thursday will be the 6th week mark, so it will, and that's me just be able to go on the bike, maybe even start driving, get back in the pool, do my prehab and stuff. So I'm still quite a bit away, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. But you'll be there to support the boys, obviously, off the park anyway.
100%. Yep. If I can't get there, I've got the link on my phone to watch it. So
yeah, I mean, obviously, Bob, you'll know for your time having covered other football clubs, a player as important as Liam, when they do miss from the park, they are a big miss. But I think it's important that off the field they're there to support their teammates, and certainly by the sounds of things, Liam's doing that.
Oh, very much. And the thing as well, Liam, you been an injured player just now, but an important injured player, because probably in midfield, that is the area that you can sort of go downwards if you've got, let's say someone coming in your place that's maybe inexperienced. And it's also a good one for you when you get a chance to come back in, because you're able to sort of go through the sort of grading process of, am I getting better? Am I feeling fitter? Am I, coming in here, am I contributing? Is this injury going away? Etc. etc. So there's no doubt at all. And obviously with the likes of Clyde, where it has been up and down so far for you, but to get that result, it was really good the other day there. When I think about Clyde, and you're too young, but maybe you might just get Cammy here, it might know my favourite ever player, and I'm sure he's still a legend, and it's going to come out now. I have to come away and say it. Harry Hood.
Yep.
Have you heard?
Harry's well remembered.
No, I've not heard them.
Oh, well, one of Clyde's greatest ever players. So there you go. And there's Dennis, just as we talk about greatest, and we'll throw that on to you, Dennis.
Who's that?
Good evening, Dennis. How are we doing that? The computer stuff sorted?
Yeah. My machine needed rebooted. Yeah, it came up surprisingly. Normally it gives you a bit of notice. Anyway, we're here. What were you saying there, Bob, about
We're talking about Clyde, and my favourite, greatest ever. Call him what you may, because he then became a Celtic player, was Harry Hood. But Harry Hood, do you know that name?
Dennis, you're no older. You're still young enough. You can remember Harry Hood.
Harry here, everybody's brought him up. No.
Eh?
Sorry, we'll start again. There seems to be something breaking up all over the place.
Your computers went again. That's what it is.
No,
I don't know if it's my end that's causing
a shame.
No,
But,
that's it. Anyway, getting back to the weekend, Liam. Obviously,
right,
a really good 6-0 win for Clyde at the weekend there. Obviously, Dennis missed a wee bit while we were talking about it. But I think the interesting thing was the goals were spread about the team as well. It wasn't just obviously a couple of players. It's good when you're getting 6 goals, and it's good when they are spread about the team as well.
Yep, definitely. It's also good for their confidence, because I'm sure that's just. I know we've definitely got a lot in the team. I think that's just what we needed to kick on, because I see 2-3 times a week what these boys are capable of. I know sometimes it might not be as obvious on the park because it's quite hard, but I know exactly what they're capable of. And going out and winning 6-0, and the boys who scored and stuff, I'm sure that will show the quality that I've actually got, because I do see it myself. So I'm actually no surprise for the boys that did score.
Tell me this, Liam. Obviously, I don't think you handling. Is it Hamilton Accies Park that you play at?
Yeah, it's Hamilton. Yep.
And how is that? Do you feel it is a home in the basis of? Well, wait a minute, it really isn't, but it's not Hamilton's either now. Am I right in saying that?
Aye, that's true. Aye.
And what sort of crowd numbers are you getting, give or take?
Oh, I'm not sure numbers wise, but I can tell you they're brilliant.
That's great.
Because when they're there, you can hear them. They're definitely there.
And if you've
really
got a system where, for coaching purposes, you've got young men coming in, maybe 12, 13, right through, or has that not been sorted yet?
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
Well, coaching, getting would-be players, maybe 12 or 13 years of age, maybe from school, even primary school.
I think he means getting out in the community, Liam. I think he's meaning trying to bring in players from the local area, get them into the club through the community. It's something that's still trying to develop.
Yeah, Clyde's got a community, yep. Clyde have got they've got a few unders teams, I know that, and some of the boys, they come in ball boy as well.
That's good. That's excellent.
It's like a very tight community, and then like the likes of the media people and that, they also coach for the community teams and stuff. So Clyde it's like a family. It's a very, very tight community.
You've always had a great reputation, Liam, the club right through all its years, and never a speculative club, never getting into any trouble or hassle or whatever. So hopefully this is a way back for you.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, indeed. Dennis, you working yet? The computer still working, or are you still having a wee bit of technical issues? You there?
I'm fine. It just seems a bit crackly. Everybody seems to be breaking up a little bit, but we're getting there.
Right, no bother.
We've had that last couple of weeks, but it's okay. I can hear it. Yep.
Cool. I'm not wanting StreamYard to be shining on us again. You know what I mean? It's definitely I've been playing dubious with us the last couple of weeks. That's for sure. It certainly has been. But Liam, what's ultimately, I mean, it's obviously it's only 5-6 games into the season. In terms of promotion, Clyde's certainly still within that bounds, looking upwards now. Just that win, as you say, good for the confidence. But in terms of pushing towards a top 4 spot anyway.
Yep, 100%. That was the aim at the start of the season. Before any pre-season games, before any friendlies, and we sat down as a team, had a meeting, and said, "Look, the last few years hasn't been good enough. We want to put that aside, and we want to really go for the league this season. Minimum, we need to finish top 4, which we're 100% capable of. If we perform like Saturday, then I don't see why not."
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, last season was a bit of a disappointment. I think that the investment in the team just didn't. Things just didn't seem to work out last season. But as you say, that this season, a wee bit close and that very, very tight on and off the park. So and Darren Young getting a chance to make a mark now in his first full season as manager. There's no reason now, on the back of the victory at the weekend, that Clyde can't push on. That's for sure.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
I think quite fortunate after that great result that the next 2 games you've got coming up are actually beneficial to you. You've got Edinburgh City, who are sitting at the bottom of the league, and then after that you've got the team that's just sitting above you with 1 point, Stirling Albion. So to actually capture the 6 points in that wouldn't be a massive achievement. It'd be a really good one, rather than having to play Spartans or East Kilbride. So there's a great opportunity there for you to get into that top 4 in the space of the next couple of weeks before the end of September.
Yeah,
do you think
100%.
that's possible?
Yeah. I do think there's a chance of getting the 6 points out of both games, but honestly, see, between every team in the league, there is no much. There's not a huge difference. Like you see, 3-4 weeks ago, Edinburgh were sitting on minus 15. What are they on? Like minus 4 or 5 now. You know what I mean?
Minus 4.
There isn't a huge difference. Like you saw last season, we're beating top of the league teams and getting beat like at the bottom of the league teams. Like it's hard to predict, to be quite honest with you. So
have you seen the difference with the fact that the top teams with money or more investment into that division is a difference, rather than the rest of the team who have maybe got a rough budget around the same as each other? You find that it's going to be a league where whoever's got the most money will buy their way out of it?
Well, I think aye and no, because sometimes you can spend as much money as you want, but see if players don't click and don't gel and don't get along with each other, and sometimes it doesn't work. Like, for instance, Edinburgh City, I think they're brilliant. I think they play good football. I think the manager's very good. I think he comes across well. I think he's got them well structured. And you see they've got probably the lowest budget in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Edinburgh come back and finish top 6, truthfully.
Yeah.
And that's with a 15-point deduction.
It is early. There's only 6 games into it, so there's a long way to go. Yeah.
I think you're right, Liam, that 15 points deduction for Edinburgh City. Were it not for that, I think you're looking at they'd be challenging top 3. They'd be looking at it. It's certainly a playoff spot anyway. And 15 points is a big ask for any club to make up. But they've already started doing that. I certainly don't think they'll be watching over their backs to see if they're going to finish bottom. That's for sure.
No. I think that if you aim low, you're going to finish low. In my opinion, you need to aim as high as you can. Set a high standard and try and reach it, because there's no way in my mind that I think Edinburgh, they're going to finish bottom. They're not a team that's just going to chuck it and say, oh no, we're 15 points down, let's just chuck it. They aim for as high as they can, which I think every team in the league should be doing, to be honest. But at high budget or low budget, I think you should just aim as high as you can, being realistic, of course.
Yeah, and obviously they've done well. They lost Connor Young midway through last season. Goals are always difficult to replace, but they seem to have done that as well. That they definitely seem to have replaced his goals, moved on, and I think what they've done, other than the fact that they're playing at a stadium which is god awful to visit as a supporter, other than that, everything is good there.
Yep. Even though they've lost Connor, but they're getting chipman goals for different positions and stuff. It's not as if corners out and one's in and the other one's scoring. Like, there's a good 4 or 5 of them scoring goals every week for them, so that obviously helps.
Who's been the best side you've seen this season? Obviously, Clyde haven't seen East Kilbride, who I think many have tipped to win the league. But out of the sides that you have seen, certainly Clyde at the weekend, but who's been the best side you've watched? Put you in the spot.
I know, you put me in the spot. To be honest, I can't actually, like, there's no team that's really stood out for me. So there's no. I'll be honest with that.
Have you played Spartans yet?
Yeah.
Aye, we played Spartans, but I'm sure a wee bit up. No, we get sent a link to watch the game. So I can't drive yet, so I wasn't able to make games, so I'm watching it on the link. And then the game I was watching against Spartans, I think I was first 20 minutes, I think we were 1-0 up, and then the link cut out. And then I think we ended up 3-1 down or something. I'm like, they didn't even look like they were in the game to me, and then the link cut out, so I can't even comment much on Spartans. But they obviously must have something good going on if they've come back for a 1-0 and scored a few goals against us. So
I was lucky in that Spartans game because I went along. I thought I went to a rugby match because it was just right at the start of the season, the League Cup, and final score: St Mirren 8, Spartans 0. But you know, it shows you how fit these teams are and the young players that they've got in and the faith and the coaching staff that was there. Very impressive. I think it was 5-0 at half time, 3 goals in 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes. So it killed the game. But the respect, the coaching staff and the way that they were encouraging these players, get in there, give it everything. And the players were shaking their head and putting their head down if they're missing sitters as well. So, you know, Spartans are quite close to me on the basis of the respect that the coaching staff gave and showing you how good that league is as well. You've got guys like that I'm sure many of folk try to emulate at the same time. So you've got a good league there, and as I say, good teams as well.
100%.
I think obviously turning it round as well. I mean, at 8-0 defeat, Liam, you know yourself. Well, thankfully you don't know yourself, but that can turn a team's season really to shit, you know, and obviously that hasn't happened, and Spartans have pushed on and they haven't let it affect the league for them this season. Yeah,
definitely. Spartans are well drilled, to be fair. A really good coaching staff. I remember 2 seasons ago, maybe actually, I was out in the first league game. I played against them, got injured. I think the next game we played against them, that was when I was back. That was like 3 months later. And everyone in the coaching staff, all of them were up saying, all right, how are you? How was the injury? It's good to see you back and whatever else. Do you know what I mean? Which they don't need to do. That's just pure respect. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So then, of course, we played them last season as well when one of their players, like Christmas time actually, one of their players I think broke his leg. And you saw it came back for us. We were the same. We helped. We tried to help as much as we could for that boy and give him jackets and whatever else. So I think there is a wee bit of respect towards Spartans and Clyde, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's good to see. I was at that game, and it was a horrific injury the lad suffered. You know, it's possibly one of the worst injuries I've watched live, and it's certainly something I wouldn't wish on anyone. You know, but it's good to hear that the respect's there between both clubs. That's good to know. But moving away from Clyde, Liam, and we'll bring it back. Obviously, this is where I'm going to have to rely on Bob and Dennis a wee bit, because as I say, I'm out of it over here. You know, haven't seen much. I know he says we wouldn't talk too much about Rangers and dwelling on the Russell Martin situation, but obviously a difficult defeat for Rangers at the weekend. And I think for the first time in goodness knows how long, Rangers probably weren't favourites for that game either, you know. So a result which didn't upset the bookies, not, although I'm quite sure, obviously, a man like yourself would be quite upset at that defeat.
Well, for me,
not Bob. I'm looking at Bob. He's just smiling there, you know.
You're looking at me. I thought you were looking at him, because my comment was with that one, a blooming disgrace. Now try and work that blooming out, because obviously now what they are saying is, well, we're right. Everything that you said, we're right about this team. We're a right good team and the folk behind us, but we're not talking about Rangers. We're talking about Bloom, the Hearts, chairman that joined recently, obviously, the man that's come in with all the techniques has been the reasons why we sign players, we check them all out, we put them through the ringer, so to speak. Well, you know, sitting up there with Celtic now, equal on points just behind them in goal average. And as I say, to go to Ibrox, regardless of what happens, you know, Rangers were ready. They were shipping goals, as we know, prior to that. But they felt against Hearts, this is a way that we can rebound and turn back and let everybody see we're on the way back. They went into that game, they were just lifeless. They had no speed at all, right through the team in defence, you know, as they were trying to break forward, trying to find midfield, or the midfield would have come back and get the ball. And in terms of shots, I think there was 4 the whole game. So it lets you just see exactly why the fans acted the way that they did. And dare I say it, there's more to come, I'm pretty sure, in the number of weeks ahead. Not forgetting, of course, that this time next week, round about that, you're going to have another European game. So, as I say, that in itself is going to be a challenge, given that they're playing Hibernian in the Premier quarterfinals and over the weekend as well. So, you get me a team you wouldn't want to play on that's it, Cammy. You know, Rangers and Hibs, albeit it's at Ibrox, but they lose as many games at Ibrox now as they're losing away from home.
Yeah. Dennis, obviously, I mean, the one thing that I've seen is press reports over here indicating that Russell Martin is under pressure, that he might get that League Cup tie, and that's it, depending on the result. You know, I think it's very difficult for a manager to continue in the vein that Russell Martin has been, you know, in terms of can he buy a win? He can't buy a performance. Certainly sounding the things, Liam sounds quite happy at that anyway, I think. And going with that smile, I'm quite sure he is. But Dennis, obviously, trying to look at it from a neutral's point of view, Rangers can't persist with this. You know, they really, really cannot persist with Russell Martin as things are.
The problem I've got is that it was a poor appointment to begin with. And the Americans were raw and they've come into this job wet behind the ears in relation to having spent enough time to understand the Scottish game. So they've made an appointment that probably wasn't favourable in a lot of areas. Myself personally, I didn't think it was a good appointment. He's came here and he acknowledges that he wasn't a preferred choice if you had choices. And he's lived up to that expectation, which is poor results, if not diabolical results. You only need to look at how poor that Southampton team when he was managing it. And I've said that on here right at the beginning. Southampton were absolutely shocking, nearly as bad at the other end of the scale that Rangers are. He brought nothing to the party there with Southampton in the Premier League. And we're talking the Premier League, to come up to Scotland, who he didn't know. He signed 13 players. And to be honest, they are worse than they were under Clement. And I said, not just Rangers, which we can even touch on with Celtic, this is the worst in my lifetime of seeing the Old Firm. They're the 2 poorest teams that I've seen in my life. So without running away and having a total rant about Rangers and Russell Martin, the other side of the town has got problems and all. But if you sign 13 players, you've got to stand up and be counted. Bob and I could go and take Rangers on tomorrow. We won't make one iota of a difference. Paul Daniels, if he was still living, he wouldn't have made a difference either. It's as bad as that because the players that they've brought in were poorer than Clement. They're actually talking about the failures for last year who have been left out of the team as being players, I wish they were there, that would be better. Better than what? You got rid of the manager because they were failures. You've brought in 13 players that are poorer. Now, if he signed them and he ran his eye over them and he felt that they were better than what they had, then he's got to stand up and be counted for that. And he's the person that has to take ownership of it. And because of that, I think his days are numbered. Obviously, because you've got an American situation where you're across the sea there, where they've got to make decisions on the back of what they've seen. If it had been just a boardroom of people within, say, Ibrox, who were the owners or in charge of the club, I reckon you would have gone at the weekend. But they will take their time to make sure that, to be honest, they're not really wanting to have a custard pie in their face with their first appointment, the Americans.
You're
so I think we'll probably give them that game.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're coming to the game at the weekend, the quarterfinals of the cup, and the other thing as well is, and as if you don't know when I'm going to be saying it, but the psyche behind being a director of Rangers, or as you know, the tie up with Leeds United as well, for them to get there, they've had to work hard, they've had to use their skills, they've had to take risks, all these kind of things to get there. But what they don't like is admitting defeat. Now, this one is so straightforward and easy to assimilate on the basis that they're only here in a matter of weeks. The results prove it all. But were they then to agree, even next week, let's get rid of them? It ain't just the manager, it's them as well in terms of their judgment. They had the chance, and other folk that were bringing into the club, and they decided to stick, rock strong with Russell Martin. From the point of view, the fans will have, never mind if it is a replacement, they now are not up right there in the stock in the heads of the Rangers supporters now, because they'll know it's been big time failure. A new manager comes in, and you've seen all this, Dennis. Let's say after 4 or 5 games, it gets rocky again. What happens? The board, and it's happening at Celtic as well. It's happening all over the world. Look at all the demonstrations we're having for everything that's happening. Folk are coming out there now, and because of, if you like, technology, all the communication processes are easy to get information and suggestions to other folk. And what's happening is, through football, through anything in life now, we're in a different setup than when we were all young guys. I don't mean yourself, Liam, but the three of us. It's just a hard world now with all the challenges that's here, and football's one of them.
Yeah, but you've got to realise that football is one of the few things in life that you get rewarded for failure. Politicians and footballers or football managers get rewarded for failure. Seriously. Yeah. And that's the insulting and embarrassing thing about it, is that, you'll walk away with a pay packet or a payoff that basically people can only dream of in normal working class. Totally. And I think that's the disgusting part of it. He won't walk away. But I would like to think that at this moment in time, that board of directors, whether they're across the Atlantic or whether they're here, are sitting at this moment in time having a replacement ready to take over as soon as they make that decision. It's inevitable. It won't last long enough because the supporters are fully against them now. And to be honest, I have no sympathy, because the bottom line is he wanted the job. He signed 13 players, and the product's absolutely garbage. So I'm sorry. If that was any other walk of life, we'd be bulleted down the road and we would be made redundant to the point that you'll get nothing out of it. So there's no sentiment when it comes to me with football managers that are earning an awful lot of money. You come into that arena, you've got to be able to live up to that flag that you get if you don't perform. He's not performed. Rangers supporters and normal people can see how bad they are as a team. And I think his time's up. And I just hope the board are going to have somebody in place by the time they make a decision.
Liam, I understand, obviously, you're not overly concerned with what's happening at Ibrox, in terms of what they can do to turn things around. But is there any way at all that Russell Martin can save his job? Is there anything at all that you can see as a manager he can change to start getting results to turn things around?
Truthfully, nah, I don't see it, to be quite honest with you. I think it's too deep in there. To me, it doesn't look like the players are playing for him. The fans don't want him there. He's not getting the results. I don't see why he wants to stay there. It's a bit. He's telling us it's going to change and stuff, but I don't see it changing at all. As much as he might want it and his head to change, I don't see the players playing for him.
I don't think it's a matter of him wanting to stay. I think he's just waiting in the payoff. It's worked against him. He thought he was going to come up here and grass was going to be greener for where he was. He's got a good salary out of it. And the bottom line is, it's proven that he wasn't fit for the job. And he won't resign. And I'll tell you why he wouldn't resign. Because the bottom line is, you resign, you get nothing out of it. He's got a contract there. He'll stay there until they decide they're not honouring it, and therefore he only got a payoff. And that is the reason that he's staying. I mean, he made a statement on Saturday in his press conference after the match, and he actually says that the players are scared. I have never, in all my years of playing, managing, coaching, ever came across, and you as well, Liam, will be able to say, have you ever seen a scared player not want to go out and play?
Nope.
Never.
Not a
Never.
chance.
Nobody is scared to go out and play. And that's what he's saying. Now, that for his level of management was embarrassing.
Yep.
And I really think that kind of statement deflects it away from himself a little bit. I could rant on for another 20 minutes on, what would you say, the failures of the guy. I hope he moves on and he goes somewhere else that actually he'll be fit for purpose. But at this moment in time, no, I think everything round about him is pointing in the direction that Rangers will need to part company with him.
Well, when we talk about, is he down? Is he taking on the chin? Not so, because a couple of days ago, he took 17 players away down to the seaside to do their training on the beach, etc., etc. But think about this for a minute, guys.
There was a body found halfway along one of the paths at Loch Lomond yesterday that been making too much a joke of it.
There you are. But when you think about it as well, 13 players, doesn't matter how good a manager, the chances are getting 13 guys that he is facing the pressure on top of the 13 guys. Generally, 13 guys you get during a close season, don't you? And you can do your workings, but he's getting them in 4 or 5 at a time. We know the window's closed now, but how are you going to get them all maintaining their knowledge of friendship, knowing how a player plays? They are going to attack, or they be a defender, but they are, and you can see it actually on it, Cammy, the indecision that's there, the when they're getting beat, they're getting real beat. You're not just getting beat maybe in midfield and having to track back. They're having to track back as though they're at 18-yard box. It's shocking. There is no rhythm whatsoever, no hope.
I mean, that's the thing there, Liam. I'm listening to Dennis, and Dennis is talking obviously about statements that Russell Martin's making after games and things like that. The good managers, the Sir Alex Fergusons, the Mourinho when he was good, the Walter Smiths of the world, the Billy McNeils, the Jock Steens, they deflected from their players. They always put the heat onto themselves.
Yep.
It sounds like Russell Martin, Liam, is actually chucking his players under the bus.
100%. Aye. And I think he's done it since the day he came in.
Yeah.
He's not trying to hide it at all. I think he's threw every player possible under the bus. To me, you just need to come out and speak and take Everton on the chin for yourself. See, if you don't think it's you, take it on the chin. See, behind cameras, have a word with the people in the change room, tell them what you think, but you can't get in live broadcast to everybody that's going to be worldwide that, it's everybody else's fault, it's not my fault, because essentially that's what he's practically saying.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And you're never going to get a player on side with that either,
100%.
So you're going to have all these players battling against you, and you say the players don't look as though they want to play for him, Liam. So he's up against it, and he's making a rod for his own back by the looks of things.
Yep. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if there's discussions in the background, like to pay him up.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't be, maybe it's been delayed because I'm not agreeing a figure or something. I don't know, but I genuinely wouldn't be surprised.
Saturday's game against Hibs, I think, Liam, will be an important one, because obviously they're beating that them out the cup, but if they win, that's them in the semis. But remember, they're still third bottom of the league. You know what I mean? Shocking.
But Bob, you're talking about a Rangers side who are 5 games into a season don't have a win. They've got 4 draws and a defeat against Hearts. A Hearts side, by the way, who many pundits and everybody else has actually figured could split the Old Firm if they don't challenge Celtic for the title. So Hearts have shown what can be done in a season.
That's right.
From getting the right managerial appointment in, from bringing in quality players. You're talking about Rangers can't integrate 13 players. Hearts have shown that can be done. And that's with a new manager as well. Similar situation to what's at Ibrox.
That's right. That's right.
It can be done with the right players and the right manager. Obviously, Rangers don't have the right manager. And Dennis, you've questioned it several times on here. And obviously, when you and I have had a coffee on a Saturday morning, as to the ability of the Rangers squad. It's not all just down to Russell Martin, but some of these players look unable to put a Rangers shirt on as well.
But if I'm the manager at Ibrox, I'm going to make sure that what players come in there are going to make me look good, and they're going to add value to the club, and they're going to be better than what was there once they go over that touchline, it's your name, it's your jacket that's on a shaky nail if they don't perform. So you've got to look at two things. Were they players given to him? Did he have a decision as to whether they were good enough, or did you just assume it's the Scottish Premier League and it didn't matter what level they were at, they would come in and do a job? That all the elements there is basically down to the fact that it's still his ownership that 13 new players have come in, and he has got to have ticked the box somewhere that says, yeah, they'll do it. If not, that's where he should have been coming out and saying, oh, wait a minute, my hands are tied here. I've nothing to do with these players. The players come in here. I mean, if you're going to throw players under the bus, you make sure that you've not made the decision to sign them. But it obviously looks like he has made the decision to sign them, thinking they were okay and assuming that he's going to get a couple of years up here to let players bed their sell in. That doesn't work in Scotland with the Old Firm. No chance. You know, it just shows you half a dozen games into the season or whatever it is with cups and God knows what else. But the bottom line is you don't get that with Old Firm.
No.
And after the disasters of the last two previous managers that Rangers have had, the last thing they needed was another guy coming in that was poorer than any of the two of them.
The thing is,
I think they've got a big problem at Ibrox because, as I said, and I'll repeat myself, Bob and I could take that team on Saturday, and it didn't matter, as I say, who you were. That team will not improve. If Bob and I were in that dressing room and they expected us to be as players to get more out of us, no, I'm sorry, it doesn't happen.
No. But think about it as well, that your next two games, we've got Hibs, and then again, I think it's at Ibrox, you've got the European game. So your next two games, we don't even want to say the word vital, that doesn't come into it, but that will, I am sure, be the deciding factor from that.
Yeah.
But how do you get 9 of anybody doing anything? Never mind what you have to do in the park, which is all about stamina and getting to know the way folk play, but try and get 9 folk in any situation, any kind of job. It takes you weeks and weeks till you settle in, but they're out there in front of everyone expecting in their first games, within a couple of games, to show their standards and get to know how other players play. Never mind what happens at training. You know, you see them working things out, but not in terms of skills. It's all just about fitness.
Yeah.
But Bob, what we've actually got in that Rangers team now is a bunch of wee boys.
Totally.
They've got no men. They've no men in the team.
Totally. Totally.
If you take it as men, maybe guys that can stand up and make out, you maybe get Suter at a push, and who does it relatively well. Then you get Tavernier, a man. Then you
Who's
look
out
through the
there,
rest
who's
of the
finishing,
team.
yeah.
And there's wee boys. There's a wee boy in the middle of the park now with dreadlocks on. I'm thinking,
Oh, listen, I love his hair. It's lovely, isn't it? Oh, and that's what that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? They're saying, isn't that a lovely hairstyle? And no, you're bang on with that, Dennis. It's shocking.
poor in that front. You need men, and I think, without saying where do they go next, I think they've got to try and cut their losses and maybe get a home-based manager to see them through the season.
Well,
like Robinson or something like that from St Mirren.
No, totally.
I know
that's worked for Hearts, Dennis. That's for sure.
Yes.
You know, I think people we've had on the show, obviously Graham Duffy, who's been on, he was looking for a foreign manager. You know, when they appointed Derek McInnes, I think he was a bit disappointed. However, that's shown that a home-based manager maybe is the right thing, and I think it's possibly something Rangers could be looking at as a guy we experienced in football. North of the border, you know, obviously Robinson's not a Scottish manager.
There are 400 games now that Stevie Robinson, the St Mirren manager, has officiated over all the different teams he's been with. But 400 games, he was crying out. I've been saying as early as the beginning of the season, listen, he would be an ideal throw-in. I spoke to somebody in Rangers.
Yeah,
and
we spoke about that on here as well, Bob. You know, in terms of Robinson would have been a great appointment for Rangers.
His personality is great, his knowledge base, every part.
He's just not a big enough name. You know,
totally. Well, we'll wait and see what happens. You just never know now.
Liam, to me, a measure of obviously how good either half of the Old Firm is how many Celtic players Rangers would have in their team and how many Rangers players Celtic have in their team.
That's right.
There can't be many Ibrox that you would want to have in that Celtic
Truthfully,
right.
I don't know what player I'd choose for a starting 11 for Celtic that I'd put a Rangers player in. I don't see it. I don't, honestly. And I'm not just being biased, I'm being genuinely honest.
That's the problem you've got, though, is that going back to it, and we're singing Hearts praises, and I think we should do, but every team in that Premier League now is going to have the best opportunity at beating Celtic and Rangers, getting points off them this year than any other year I can remember.
I'd agree with you. Yeah.
You know, I mean, Celtic supporters are not happy either, and they're quite right, because I said, Cammy, I've said this for years, that board has stitched up the supporters rotten with its money spending that goes on or doesn't go on at Parkhead. And they just seem to look over their shoulder and go, aye, Rangers are struggling, right? That's another 10 million we can save here then. And it shouldn't be like that.
Yep.
It should be about the quality for the supporters who are paying good money to get in there and entertain them, not look across the city to see how bad they are before you start spending.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, Rangers, at this moment in time, are in turmoil. And we'll go back to it. I think they need to just sweep it away and bring in somebody in a safe pair of hands. That's as much as you're going to get in it. A safe pair of hands that will maybe see them through the season and gel a few of these players, and hopefully weed out some of the poorer players at the window and maybe bring in, I don't know, enough that's going to get them competing. But I repeat, everybody in that Premier League has got a chance of beating them.
100%. I think that comes into a fear factor. People used to be scared to come to Celtic Park in Ibrox.
Yeah.
You used to know what to do. They didn't like playing at Celtic. They're always expected to lose. Now I think Rangers are more feared to play other teams in there to play Rangers.
You see, that's what I mentioned earlier. Russell Martin's saying they're scared. It's not. It's not that they're scared. These boys that are in at Ibrox now have no history, no understanding of the club.
Yep.
We've spoke about it on here many a time. It takes a different animal to go and play with the Old Firm. You just can't be that player that played brilliant with Aberdeen expecting them to turn up at Ibrox or Parkhead and be a superstar. It doesn't happen. It's a certain breed. Now, they're not scared. They're just not good enough. And therefore, we can tart it up, Liam, as you say. Nobody's scared to go and play the Old Firm now. I would agree with that. But players being scared, no. They should never be signed if they've got that makeup. With the technology we have now to explore every avenue of fitness, living with players, everything that goes with it, you shouldn't have a player in there that's not a man that can't compete in this division.
But there's more players for the opposition teams that's played at Ibrox than there are players for Rangers that's played in Ibrox.
Yeah.
A lot more. And to me, I don't think that should be the case. I think they just need to strip back to basics.
But it's how
players
you then move
who
these
know
players
what it
on.
means to play for that club.
But it's also how you move these players on, because they've recently just been signed. Generally, at worst, a 3-year contract. Now, you can only sign players or move them on if they're good enough. So if they're not playing well enough for Rangers, they're going to be sitting there costing Rangers money every single week. They're not that daft. They've all got their lawyers and their agents behind them. So Rangers are going to lose an absolute fortune. And that's why, again,
financially can afford it now, Bob.
Well, that's right.
They can afford it now to try and get things right. You know,
the
Americans have got to realise now they've come in here, they've made a very, very poor appointment in terms of manager. The finances are such now at Ibrox that they can almost afford to pay out these contracts, you know. And if the players aren't good enough, if the next manager can't get a tune from them, you know, he can then look and say, right, okay, well, we need to move so and so on, take a loss on the player, and then move forward. You know, Rangers are at a stage now where the club has to be first and foremost and has to be the priority. And if taking a loss on some of these players who are not Rangers quality, and I hate to say it, who are not a Rangers or a Celtic man, but who are not Rangers quality, if they guys are not good enough, there comes a time now where they need to move them on, you know. And if taking a hit on it financially is what needs to be done, then that's what needs to be done, you know, at Rangers or at Celtic, you know, because the finances have to be at a stage now where that's not what dictates the quality of player that they have. But moving things forward, Celtic needed to qualify for the Champions League proper. They failed to do so. Rangers failed in their attempt as well, you know. So the finances have to take a second step in terms of obviously moving the club forward.
But see, when you look at it, Cammy, I question the fact that when you look at, you've got Boyle, you've got Bowie and Hibs, and then you've got Shanklin at Hearts. Now, to me, when you look at the Old Firm now, there's 3 players that would be of added value to players up front for the Old Firm. They've never moved. So what are the managers thinking about? Are they frightened to actually sign a Scottish player that would cost them virtually nothing when they're signing players that are actually really getting them the sack or putting them in an awkward spot? So you look at the three players and say, what would they really have cost? And if they do fail, never mind it being dead money with the likes of Boyle being whatever age he is, you get a year out of that guy. That's worth at least a couple of £1 million.
Yeah.
If he'd been playing with Celtic, say as an example, never mind Rangers, and he was playing with Celtic, they would maybe achieved that £40 million Champions League money. And if they paid £2 million and he was only there for a year, can they not work that out?
Yeah.
I mean, Liam, you look at the boy Boyle, because you're obviously playing. How would you feel if Celtic signed him in like a year, 2-year contract? Surely it would be worth a shout rather than what they've had up
100%.
front for the last year.
100%. But it's too close to home. It's too obvious to do that, isn't it?
Why?
They don't
Why?
want to
I
do
can't
that.
understand that.
That's what I mean. Why exactly? They don't want to do it for whatever reason. They'd rather go somewhere else and pay all this money for somebody who's not proved himself in Scottish football, which I don't get. Why not go with the proven ones who's proved to score goals and affect it?
Absolutely.
But you as a young player must look at this nowadays and go, I've no chance of getting
100%.
One or two players are breaking through, one or two, when in actual fact there should be, not in abundance, but there should be a good scattering of players from the Scottish leagues that actually make it to the Old Firm. No,
definitely.
It's as if Zadzinski, great name, we'll get him in.
Yep, 100%.
Listen, bringing it back to the start of the podcast, Harry Hood played for Clyde and he played for Celtic.
Yes.
You know, there was opportunities 40 years ago. Players they got to such a poor degree of skill and standard that they play for Clyde and can he play for a club further up the chain, you know, whether it's Celtic or whether it's anywhere else. If you're young enough, if you're quality enough, you should be good enough.
Definitely.
You know, and I don't think there's any difference in a lot of the time between players who ply their trade in the lower reaches of the Championship or the lower reaches even of League One or League Two than some of these players that they want to bring in for the Congo or for Asia or for wherever else,
100%.
just purely and simply because they're
and the body language tells you that when you see them
100%.
play. You know, they're not throwing themselves into tackles, that they're not, you know, taking on big challenges, you know. They're brilliant, taking on maybe two players, the ball runs out for throwing, they put the head down, they're not running into space, they're not chasing back to get tackles in. So that's foreign maybe to them as players, you know, but not to their good old supporters.
I'm not saying it just because he's on the show here, you know, and anybody who knows me will back me up here. But I would far rather take a Liam Scullion who's committed, you know, and who'll go 100% into a challenge, or, you know, guys who are 100% committed, who want to wear that jersey, who'll pay money almost to wear that jersey, than somebody that they're bringing in from overseas. And apologies, Liam, for throwing you out there, but
no,
as I say, I'd far rather take that, because all I've seen for you is 100% commitment at Clyde and wherever else, you know. And as a fan, you want that. Yeah. You don't want some boy coming in from overseas and who's 100%. Not committed, who doesn't want to work for your club, who doesn't want to work hard. You know.
If you look at McCowan compared to Engels, what did they pay for Engels? 11 million.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All due respect, he's come out, he's not kicked his arse.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
McCowan, he kept him on the bench. Why?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even the boy
two games in Europe,
not even done much.
He come on, and I ranted about this 2 weeks ago. He come
Can't
on in
cross the ball past the first man.
Aye.
70th minute, and he's your most expensive player.
Aye.
Exactly.
And if he can't get the ball by the first man, he then sits in his arse and doesn't tack back if he can't make a pass, you know. And that's the thing. And as you say, you get that from McGowan, you get that for other players. Rangers' best players so far this season has been a guy they brought in for Dundee for a free transfer. You know, Celtic's best player, one of their better players is McGowan, because he's committed, he gives 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Because they know what it takes to play for Celtic.
Yeah.
If you look at the four of us discussing the three players I mentioned without going any further into other teams in other parts of the league, there's three set people that could play centre forward that would be better than the two clubs at the top of the tree now why is nobody, and I'm just going over it probably old ground, why is nobody actually, we've all agreed in this, they would be a contribution to the old firm, whether it's 1, 2 or 3 all went to one club or split the two of them up and one went to the other. Why has that not happened? And why are support allowing it to happen, that they bring in this foreign players that you've just all talked about?
And not even a hint of it either, Dennis. You know, there's never, Rangers are very, very close to, or Celtic are very close to. Not even a build-up, nothing like that.
If you look at the Majorski thing, it didn't even take him for Aberdeen. They had to wait till he goes to be a foreign player and then take him. Why not just take him when he's in top form? Why wait till he's moved country, lost all his confidence, not in really good form, and then bring up the Rangers?
But he hadn't great form to the club that he went to either. So there again is that sign-in where his form has been poor to the club that he went to. So there you go.
But that's what I'm saying. Why take him for that club where he's not really performing? Why not take him for Aberdeen where he's flying, where he is performing? Do you know what I mean? And they would have probably got him for, I don't know, cheaper. I don't know if they even paid for him.
Downside cheaper,
behind the scenes.
But you know, part of the reason, because the abuse Celtic and Dundee took for McGowan going to Parkhead, you know, rather than biding his time at Dundee and trying to be something there, or going back to Kenny Miller when he went for Hibs, you know, the abuse that these players take because they're going to go and sit on the bench at Celtic or Rangers or whatever else, you know. And it's a double-edged sword.
That's just what you do, isn't it? Celtic's probably paid him 10 times as he's a Celtic fan. In his head, because I know what it is like as a footballer, everybody in the world's going to tell you you're going to sit on the bench, but in your head, you're going to say, no, I'm going to prove myself. Do you know what I mean? He's everybody else is thinking he's going to sit on the bench, but he's actually going to think, you can all think that, but I'm going to play because I want to play. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to go to Celtic thinking, I'm going to sit on the bench. Maybe he's being realistic, he's going to start off at the bench, but I think he'll still give 100% to start. He'll not throw the dummy in, so he won't. He'll still give his 100% and make sure he gets in that starting 11.
Yeah, superb. Yeah. And that's what it should be, you know. And indeed, Kenny Miller proved himself. You know, other players have done it. Chris Boyd proved himself. You know, when he went. You know, some players have done it and have proved themselves. And I think you're right, Liam, in terms of if you're a fan of that club or if you're a guy who knows what Scottish football's about, you should be given the chance. You know, irrespective of whether the general consensus of opinion is that you're going to sit on the bench, because to my mind, you're better than that guy that they're bringing in. As you say, 11 million for Ingles, 750,000 for McGowan. It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, you know.
Yep.
But we're sitting there watching rubbish and destroying it, and yet with potentially people sitting, and because of some excuse or somebody's no marked their card right and said, "Oh, it's dead money. He's old. He's doing this." They're the guys I would go and pay money to watch. Know the rubbish that they're producing at Parkhead and Ibrox at this moment in time. If they sign Boyle, Shankland, and whoever else you could add to that, I would think it's encouraging, one, to see Scottish players getting a chance, and two, they're trying to make sure that the Premiership is of good standard and quality. And it was renowned for years that Celtic and Rangers would always take the better players from the rest of Scotland. We're not doing that. You mentioned McGowan. The bottom line is it's drip feeding it into the two top teams.
We also seem to be living. Well, we seem to be living. Well, we seem to be living in a world of the politics, you know, Stammer and all the things that have been happening to him behind the scenes. We hear none about it. Then we talk about football. Then you talk about Maida at Celtic. Great player last year. And then we hear that during the close season, he was wanting a transfer. We heard nothing at all about it until a couple of weeks ago when he had a poor game. So the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, there is a lot of dishonesty, and you have to say that because there's not revelations, which is fair to the bottom line, which is the fans.
Yeah, indeed. Well, listen, guys, it's been an interesting show for sure. You know, I thought it was good to try and do something during the week. As I said earlier on, Dennis, when you were off here, the stuff that we recorded a couple of weeks ago to put out I can't find it anywhere in my drive in terms of posting it. So it's been good to do something. It's turned out to be a slightly different podcast for what we normally do. We haven't looked at the results other than the Rangers result. I couldn't tell you the rest of them anyway, other than that and Clyde. So it's been good to talk about that. But guys, thank you very, very much to all three of you for joining us. First of all, thanks very much to Liam Scully. And Liam, I know you've got a game to get to, but thanks very much for at the last minute stepping in. I really appreciate it, mate. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it, aye. It's good.
Good. And all the best for your recovery.
Thank you.
Certainly hope to catch up with you a game or two in the not too distant future, mate.
Yep, hopefully.
Good.
Cheers, pal. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.
Bye.
Thanks as always to Dennis Newell. Thanks to Bob Smith. Guys, thank you very, very much. That was good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Good night.
Thanks for catching up with us late on. As I say, I'm going to go and get fed. I've got a table booked, crying out my name for a dinner. I'm going to go and have another couple of beers as well. Thoroughly enjoy the rest of the night. Still another 4 or 5 nights here, so I'm going to go.
You've got a hard life. You've got a hard life, Cammy.
Listen, Bob, what can I say? You thought I was still in Washington, but no, I've moved away.
In regards to Stevie when you see him.
Yeah, I will do. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
Good night, James.
See you later on. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.